welcome to Glitter Budget. We are the rebranded No, I'm Just a Worm. Jess and I were discussing podcast goals and everything, and we decided that just to make certain things easier, we would rebrand, call everything Glitter Budget, and have done with it. And we thought that we would actually focus our podcast more on reminiscing about childhood movies, TV shows, and how they've stood the test of time and how they relate to issues that we have in today's day and age. Because we had a lot of fun with that the last episode that we talked about that, and figured it might be easier for everyone to digest.
Yeah. So, we figured today would be the start of our rebranding. But I think it's just going to be easier for everyone to follow along with us included.
Yeah, because we would always be like, what are we going to talk about this time? I don't know. We don't have a focus. We don't have a niche. I have a niche. No, we don't have a niche, but now we do. So nostalgia, that's what we like best. So we'll be talking about movies and TV shows from like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, the millennial type things. But actually, we're going to start with Mel Brooks movies, which are, some of them are from the late 70s. But we
Some
both...
of the ones anyway.
Huh?
Some of the ones that we like anyway.
Yes. And then they go up until, I think, early 90s was Dracula Didn't Love You.
Yeah.
But so we're going to start off with Mel Brooks because we love him oh so much, and we start off with Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
So the funny thing about the theme song for Blazing Saddles was that it was sung by a guy who would actually sing Western movie theme songs, and obviously all the other movies that he would sing for were serious Westerns, and this guy was also under the impression of that Blazing Saddles was a serious movie because no one told him otherwise. Like, Mel Brooks is like, man, I would love to have, I think, what was his name, something LaFontaine. I had just read it earlier today, but he was the guy that would sing Western themes, and they were like, man, I would love to get that guy, or at least a sound alike, someone who could mimic him or whatever. And then the guy that he wanted showed up, and he was like, oh, cool. So he co-wrote, Mel Brooks co-wrote the lyrics to Blazing Saddles, and this guy sang it, and the guy did not know Blazing Saddles what it was.
I feel like he didn't know who Mel Brooks was then too.
Probably not, but actually Blazing Saddles was one of the first ones that he did. I think that and High Anxiety were some of the first movies that he had done so far, so I don't think that he really knew, if it were now and Mel Brooks was looking for someone to do a serious song about his movie, they might be like, Mel. Come on. But he was afraid that if he had told the guy that the movie was a comedy, that he wouldn't take it seriously. So he's just like, yeah, serious Western film that we're doing today. So if you could just, that'd be great.
But didn't Mel Brooks wrote and or co-wrote the majority of the music for that movie, didn't he? Lyrics and all.
Yeah, I think he wrote all the lyrics to all the songs, and then co-wrote the lyrics for Blazing Saddles, I believe. Because in the style of old Western movies, the credits in that film are pretty much at the beginning. There are some credits at the end as well, but they go through the whole spiel of title sequence, actors, director, producer, all that kind of stuff, and music and everything. We're used to seeing that kind of stuff at the end credits.
Right.
But yeah. So Jess and I were discussing yesterday that if in that movie they say the N-word so many times, but
yeah,
it was in because the film was based in, I think, 1874. That's the year that they say in the movie that it was based in 1874, and that's the kind of rhetoric that they would use. They would say the N-word, they would say faggot, and they would say other racial slurs and just anything and everything not PC, like how they would talk about women, how they would treat women, and all that kind of stuff. So that, like, it's all how it would be done there. Like he doesn't, like, even though the movie was filmed in the 70s, like he didn't pull any punches with trying to be PC, because that's not how it would have been in 1874, which
It's
I
not
thought
how it
was
would
cool.
have been, but I think it was more of a, because it was filmed in 1974, I think it was more of a in your face, equal rights. This is basically how we're treating, African Americans, Asian Americans, women, the Irish they throw in there, I think, at one
Yeah.
point.
They
um,
say that they would take the, well, they say racial slurs, but no Irish.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I think just given the time that it was written and put out there for public consumption, was basically like I had said before. I mean, you were saying that Mel Brooks has always been known to push the envelope. But he does it in a very satirical way. It's always like comedy based for the most part. And I agreed without knowing that I was agreeing by saying that like Mel Brooks is always just going to shove it in your face. He's going to shove hot button topics in your face unapologetically, but he's going to do it in a very smart way. So I feel like, what I picked up from that movie was just the way that African Americans were treated during that, not just in the 1800s, but currently in the early 70s as well, how little valued they were, how little valued women were, and then just, how useless and shitty the government is. I mean, the
Yeah.
governor was just like the biggest moron
Mm-hmm.
ever in that movie. And it's just how, like, they'll pick a scapegoat to be able to get what they want, and just how they think that, the general public is that dumb.
Yeah.
So,
What I found interesting, I was reading trivia about the movie, and Mel Brooks pretty much had final say about whatever was going to go into the film. Like, that was part of his contract, that the production company didn't have the final say, which sometimes happens with movies. So Warner Brothers was the production company, and they had issues with several of the scenes. One of them that they were like, no, we really don't like the farting scene. Like, they didn't like the farting scene. They didn't like the scene with Lily Von Stupp and Bart, where like they cut the lights out and she was like, "It's twoo, it's twoo." And in the home release of the movie, Mel Brooks leaves in a part that he eventually took out of that scene, where, like, after she says it's twoo, and then Bart says, "Sorry to disappoint you, ma'am, but you're sucking on my arm." So that was the only thing that Mel Brooks cut from the film in order to kind of like appease the production company, but everything else, like, he kept in all the racial slurs and everything, because to stay true to how it was back then, and also to, like, if you take all of that out, it's like you don't have a movie at that point. Like,
yeah.
it's you're not getting the point across that you're trying to get across. And after the film's release, the only people that seemed to have an issue with all of the racial slurs were primarily white people. Like, even the African Americans filming it, like, one of the actors, I forget his character's name, but he was having a hard time with any of the times that he had to say the N-word. And Cleavon Little, the actor who played Bart, took him aside, was like, "You know what? It's cool. I know you're not like this. These aren't your words. They're
Right.
they're in the script. So, like, if you were saying it, if you personally were saying, we would get into a fight. But, like, I know it's not coming from you, so it's
Right.
okay." And like, it's just so funny, the white privilege that's there. They're like, "No, you can't use that word. Blah 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 blah." It's like, why? Look, you have to ask yourself, why you're having an issue with this word in this context. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But that's what I thought was like pretty interesting. I love reading facts about film. So this is like I get a nerd boner anytime we talk about like behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, yes.
I don't know. I just like I was we were discussing before too. It's just I feel like, you know, as movies progressed over the years, and especially where we're at now, I feel like visually we show some really horrendous things, and
Oh
that's
God,
fine.
yeah.
But I feel like the dialogue, just across the board, I mean, not just the racial slurs, but just the dialogue in general in that movie would not fly now.
Yeah, because everyone is so afraid of being not PC, and everyone has that. We've talked in previous episodes about the presentism issue,
Yeah.
where let's say you have a movie or a TV show or whatever based in a time that is not now. Like I think we had brought it up with Outlander, how
Yeah.
they treat women, how there was a lot of rape in that show, but at that time, back in the 1700s, 1800s, whatever, that's what women dealt with constantly, all the time. When women were raped, they were treated as objects, and once they get into America, there's slavery,
Yeah.
and they have to deal with that and how African Americans were treated. And but like you can't be delicate with issues like that because those aren't delicate issues. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah. So I think, you know, if you're going to do a movie or if you're going to do a show on those issues, they're not issues that is easy to swallow, right? So
Yeah.
it's an uncomfortable topic, and it should be uncomfortable because typically it's in regards to, you know, individuals being put down for their mere existence, just for them being different or just for them being in a different culture, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but you know, if you want to get a message out there and bring light to this and have a conversation and show injustice, then it's it's going to be harsh.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Scenes are probably going to make you uncomfortable because they should. And
Yeah.
it's not intended to purposely offend anyone. It's to kind of like splash some water in your face, like, listen, wake up. Like this is how it was then, or this is what we're currently experiencing. You know, you can't keep putting your head in the sand. And you know, like I said, sometimes that makes for really harsh media.
Yeah. It's like those kind of topics don't deserve to be pussyfooted around. Like you said, you have to show the harsh, gritty truth, because otherwise you're not doing it justice, and you're not actually trying to change anything by going about it delicately. Like the reason people are going so hard is that it like like you said, you need a wake up call because things need to change. And like there's no better way to grab people's attention than by shocking them. So, and when you get shocked or you get offended, that generally stirs a conversation. It starts you thinking about, why does this offend me? And a lot of people unfortunately do lash out when they get offended, but then a conversation can happen, and then you can start trying to move towards change or move towards a dialogue where you can actually like, okay, let's fix this.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the time frame that the movie was shot in, you know, absolutely portrayed on how individuals were treated. Yeah, I think there was that one scene where the guy, yeah, so it was like, I think at the very beginning when they were actually working on the railroad, and the guy like passed out from heat exhaustion,
Yeah.
passed out, and he was just like, dock him a day's pay for sleeping on the job. And it's like, that stuff happened though,
Yeah.
you know, there was no 9 to 5, let's take a lunch break and treat them like humans. It was like, you're literally there just to do what I need you to do, and you're just a workhorse, almost literally. And then you know, when they asked them to go take the hand cart out to go down the line and figure out what was going on, they ran into the quicksand and they saved the hand cart
Yeah.
and not them, just to show like how little value that they had in them, even though they're human beings. You know, and the amount of like the little bit of money that they were making, if any. But I think that in the time that it was filmed in, though, in the 70s, is probably how that community felt as well. Probably pretty similar, of
Yeah.
just like, are disregarded so much. We're paid probably half of what, somebody else next to me who's just white is making. We're working longer hours, we're not getting benefits. It probably pretty much mirrored, and I think it was probably a test of time of like, listen, like, this might be kind of funny and this is what happened back then, but it's still relevant to now.
Yeah. And like they also mentioned how like to check to see where the railroad went. The one guy was like, okay, let's send some horses out there, blah blah blah. And the guy's like, we can't afford to send horses, like we can't risk horses. Send to, and then he says the N-word.
Yeah.
And then I guess to make fun of that, Bart's character is like, I'm sorry, you requested to, but actually my grandmother was Dutch. And then he's just like, get on out there. But Cleavon Little, like I said, who played Bart, he was actually he was a stage actor. He did Broadway and stuff, and he was a Shakespearean actor. But at the time, like, they wouldn't allow African Americans to do a lot of serious film or anything like that. So he had to take a lot of comedy roles, which wasn't really his forte or anything like that, because of, at the time, like I said, they don't give those kind of roles to Black actors. So he
Right.
had to I don't know if he actually like settled for Blazing Saddles, but I think he did enjoy doing it, but he was more of a Shakespearean guy. And he took over the role because the production company thought that Richard Pryor, who helped write the script, was too racy for film. Oh, the irony. But Richard Pryor had quite the reputation before this film, so they were like, let's not. And then they went with Cleavon Little, which was, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a good choice. He had a really good chemistry with Gene Wilder, and
Yeah.
he and Gene Wilder actually became really good friends.
It's awesome. I mean, I love too, like, how Mel Brooks is always kind of using some of the same actors and actresses, in a lot of his movies, just because they do have good chemistry and they work well together.
Yeah, the guy that plays the hangman in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What are you, a 16 and a half? He's like, I'm completely booked. He's just like, but yeah, he always had a lot of good character actors on there, like Harvey Korman playing the politician Hedley Lamar.
Yeah. It's Hedley.
And the joke that Mel put in there about, like, hey, it's 1874, you can sue her, talking about the actress Hedy Lamar. She actually did end up suing Mel Brooks for using the name Hedley Lamar, and they settled out of court. But like, it was funny because, like, after the film was made, there was a lawsuit, but during filming, that was like one of the first, I don't know if that was one of the first scenes that they shot, but it was just like he joked about a lawsuit, and then a lawsuit actually happened.
Yeah, it was like one of, like, not the first scene, but it was definitely early on in the movie when that scene happened. Because I think that's when, like, he went in there about the railroad and having to, like, put it through Rock Ridge and how they would be able to do that.
Yeah. That was but yeah, even like the governor and how he treats his secretary. Oh, like,
Secretary, like,
yeah, it's cringeworthy now. But she gets the telegram from Rock Ridge requesting a sheriff, and he asks her to read it, but he says something about, like, you filthy bitch, before she starts reading it. I'm like, ooh. But
and he's just, like, talking to her boobs. Like,
yeah, and like it's all so over the top, but it's like it's done in satire, which, you're supposed to realize how ridiculous it is. Just like with Lily Von Stipp's song "I'm Tired."
that entire scene cracked me up. One, just the lyrics were hilarious, and I think, a lot of women who maybe haven't settled yet or haven't found like the one probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
But to like one's going down there to check her out because it's like Yvonne Shook and she's amazing and she's so hot and it's like so bad.
Yeah.
So
And it's another funny part is that Madeline Kahn is a really great singer. I think she had done opera, and she's purposefully singing poorly.
right.
And she's like, ah, it's ridiculous.
So flat. She has like that lisp.
Oh my god, she's the Teutonic Titwillow, which I thought it was just so. That's what made her character even funnier. Was her speech impediment.
Yeah.
Guys are always coming and going and going and coming and always too soon.
Too soon. Yeah.
And everything she said, everything from the waist down is just kaput. But she always plays like these iconic, like even if they're smaller parts, everything I think everything that she's done is gold.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it was funny too at the end though when they crash the different sets, how she ends up like drinking with the other Germans.
Yeah. And he fits Dom DeLuise in there at the end as the director of the French Mistake musical.
Yes.
Oh God, I love him. But like you said, he always manages to bring the same actors in all of his movies, which is just it's great. You'd be like, oh my God, there he is. Oh my God, there he is in all of his different movies, and it's awesome.
I mean, I think that's what a part of what makes this movie so great, though. Like I said, is just you keep that chemistry going. Like it works. Who's going to fit right for what character and for what type of movie, and you just go with it. And I think nowadays, like you see that with a lot of different people. What are you looking at?
There's a crack in this, and it's Steven's fault. So, like, if you could see up here.
Yep.
But there's stuff down at the bottom where it looks like there's cracks along the bottom. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Does it still cup? Does it still hold fluid without leaking out?
You're gonna go there? Wow. Well, guys, we made it 20 minutes before breaking up, so
I think that's a record time. You love me.
do I?
Yeah. Sucker.
Not for long.
No,
but anyway.
During any, like, I was laughing because I feel like during any scene with the governor and Hadley, like I laughed, but kind of like that really bitter, this is probably what's happening right now kind of laugh.
Yes. There are correlations between Lepetamine and a Cheeto.
Yes. Very crispy, dumb Cheeto. Like, especially like with the paddleball things.
Oh my God.
I was just like I said, at some point I just stopped laughing. It was like, this isn't funny because it's so true.
Yeah, you're just like the complete and utter incompetence of the people that are supposed to be leading us. You're like, what? No wonder we're fucked.
Like that, but like character of, there's always someone behind the curtains though looking at this idiot who has all this power of just going, this could work in my favor. Like, we're gonna make work, and they're not even gonna know because they're too busy smoking cigars, motorboating some chick, and trying to figure out how to paddleball works.
And if that doesn't depress you, I don't know what will. But it's like you said, it's so twoo. It's twoo. Oh God. But what kind of adds to that, I get in a way, just making the characters seem even dumber and sadly funnier. Um, there was a French comedian uh, that that's how Mel Brooks got the name Le Pétomane, because the translation of it, like péteur in French means fart, and then main is short for like maniac.
Right.
So it would be William Fart Maniac. And this French comedian, like, he had perfected a way to fart at will.
Wow.
So
That's impressive, I guess.
yeah, so he was dubbed a, I have to look up the actual words. I know one word that they called him was fartiste, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Let me find it really quickly. I am bad at remembering. Um, uh, there we go. So there was a French performer, Joseph Pujol, whose stage name was Le Pétomane. Pujol was famous for his remarkable control of the abdominal muscles, which enabled him to inhale air into his rectum and expel the air upon command, farting at will. His
Wow.
stage name combines the French verb péter, to fart, with the main suffix meaning maniac, which translates to fartomaniac. The profession was also referred to as flatulist, farteur, or fartiste.
Wow.
I don't care how old you are, fart jokes will always be funny.
I feel like that was like such a cliche. I mean, the whole Western Front type of thing, and like the people, the townsfolk, and some of the people that were kind of like running the town was so cliche, which I think was obviously done on purpose, but made it so much more funnier.
Yeah, the fact that everyone in Ridge Rock was named, their last name was Johnson, so they were like all related.
The
um,
cows that were everywhere.
yeah, and Mongo, I loved Mongo.
So Will had to point out to me that apparently the actor who played Mongo was I think it was a linebacker I think for the Detroit Lions at the time. So like he
Oh,
was actively in the NFL when he did that movie, and I was like, oh, that's like the only positive Star Trek thing you can say about the Detroit Lions. He didn't talk to me for a while after I said that.
does he like that team?
Yeah, and they're awful.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the sports. I don't know. I think I
It's
remember that he did like the Lions, but I don't know if they're good, bad, or ugly. I don't know.
They're bad and ugly. No,
Man, if he listens to this episode, he gonna be mad.
it's not that I haven't already said before. It's fine.
Okay. You live a dangerous life. I like it.
Gotta live on the edge. Gotta have some type of excitement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other points of Blazing Saddles we want to bring up other than it's just an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. If anything that we've said already hasn't convinced you already, then there's no hope for you.
No, I don't know. I mean, I just like I said, I liked the movie as a whole. I liked, like you said, how they weren't he wasn't shy of bringing up how life was like back then and that time. Like I said, at the same time, I feel like it mirrored pretty closely some of the social issues that were still happening in the 70s, which, like I said, I feel like he was addressing that hot button topic for that time,
Mm-hmm.
but guising it as, well, no, it's just, this is what happened on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Like it was a kind of a sneaky way to kind of like really drive that point home for that time and be able to get away with it, dressing it up as a comedy, a Western comedy.
The and another part that Mel Brooks did, like it was ingenious and clever. I think that there's a scene where Jim, the Waco kid, Gene Wilder's
Yeah.
character, is trying to comfort Bart by saying, like, it's like it's what did you expect, like them to like welcome you with open arms, blah blah blah, like they're simple folk, they're the clay people of
Right.
the West, and he's like, morons.
Yeah.
And that line, like, Cleavon did not know that line was in the script, so his reaction to laughing at morons was genuine, which I thought was kind of
Right.
cute. But like it just showed, like, that's how you look when you are a racist. You look like a moron because you have no standing. There's no reason behind your racism. You're just an asshole. You're just a moron.
We
And you
like
see,
saved the town from Mongo. Like when the little lady brought him the
yeah,
pie, like she go in the front door, like she did it all sneaky in the back. It's like, sorry for calling you earlier. Like, here's some pie. And then she comes back. But don't tell anyone that like
yeah, you'll
this
have the good
happened.
sense not to tell anyone I was here, right? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Jim is like, oh, well, like in another 25 years, they might actually shake your hand in public. And like it's sad but true. That's how a lot of people were. Like, they're very slow. They're slow.
Even that part though is just I don't know, like I said, just that whole scene of dialogue, that whole stretch was just so accurate, I think, for back then, but again, for like what they were experiencing at that time too. So he's just, I don't know, I think that's why I like Mel Brooks, is he's just so smart and he's so sneaky with what he does with his movies.
I think it's how you get really good comedy, though, is that you have to be clever about it. And it's the kind of stuff that will, if it makes you think, that's what will attract you to it more. As long as you're a reasonable, insane person. Some people don't like to think, and that's why they lash out. But I agree that that's why I think Mel Brooks's movies have, like, I think they stand the test of time. Like, they were funny back then, they're funny now. And yeah, like you and I watch it now and we're like, whoo, they say some racy things. But that's because we're kind of used to watching a lot of things that, you know, have come out recently, and you're like, well, of course they're not going to say these things, but they might not be that kind of movie either, where they're trying to bring light to any kind of particular topic. They're just movies for movie's sake sometimes
Right.
anymore. But sorry, you were going to say?
No, I think we have there's been a couple shows I think as of late that have brought up new topics that have been really harsh. I think like the person that comes to mind is 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
At least the first season anyway. It, being able to talk about how bullying really is and how harsh it can actually be and how cruel and the effects of that, I think, have obviously been addressed before in media, but not like that.
Yeah.
And nobody was ready for that.
Mm.
So,
I
I mean,
think,
I think we see it in a different light now, I think, than we do. At least it's just different issues at this point.
yeah, like they're, as technology grows, and as like we all grow as a society, there's going to be different issues that we have to deal with, and that need the light shown on them and everything. And now more than ever, we have a lot more there's more awareness brought to the trans community as well. And they're all like them, like trans people, as well as like the entire LGBTQ plus community, they're all really misunderstood. But there are a lot of movies and TV shows out there now that you can watch to try to get like a better understanding of them.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, back then it was even more taboo than it is now.
Yeah. Yep.
What was that movie with I think it was Robert De Niro, where he wanted, like, he was robbing a bank so that he could get money for his something about
You
a
brought this up
dog.
in previous another episode too.
Yeah, hot dog night, not hot dog.
What?
3 dog night, hot dog Saturday, hot dog afternoon. Wait, 3 dog day afternoon.
There you go. I started to think about it. I was like, I'm just gonna let her keep going like a dick.
Why do we allow me to talk?
I know better. I know better. So on that note, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up.
Oh my god. Jesus fuck. Okay.
So if you haven't, by some chance, seen any Mel Brooks movies, I recommend you start with that one, and hopefully we gave you a little bit of a glimpse of how he works and all of his little nuances and secrets, stuff like that. So I think you guys should check it out. Obviously, as we were saying before, like nostalgia and what we grew up. Obviously, we were not born in the fucking 70s, but
No. If you think that we were, you fucks. Man, we would look good for our age though. Damn. But go on.
No, I think just, our families had really good taste in movies, so that was introduced to us growing up, which is why for us it's a feeling of nostalgia because that's something that we grew up watching.
Yes. So we're gonna remind everyone, like we said at the beginning of the episode, that we are doing a rebranding, so everything is going to be glitter budget now. Okay, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and check out for new and exciting content that we'll be putting out. Okay, so tune in for that. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.